I was wondering. So, in this effort to look to cultural practices, we started thinking about developing a project in where we would highlight various practices of care of nature and put this into a framework of adaptation and using more feminist perspectives to influence that work. Because we've previously worked with similar things, but we've never had a project that looks specifically at culture-based solutions. It's sort of a new coining of a term here. Um, so we started asking ourselves the question of what we can learn from these feminist perspectives that are already here on human environment relations. And we're quite influenced by all these new feminists that are speaking to more than human perspectives and human, non-human entanglements that stress the reciprocity of caring relationships between humans and other species that sort of result to generosity and sufficiency in those relationships. And we have theorists like Kimmer and Haraway that look to communities and indigenous communities, especially in Australia and the US and Latin America for those kinds of perspectives on human nature relationships and entanglements. And this is to move away from the more technocratic, adaptive scope that still is in the sort of green transition sometimes conflicting ideologies where you're still trying to maximize the potential for humans as the most important factor. And thus, this project and these feminist perspectives are sort of a critique of extractivism and more colonial perspectives and structures. So in anthropology, there's like a age-old question or debate that started in the 60s and 70s with an essay called Is Female to Male as Nature is to Culture? In where they tried to release the more patriarchal notions of women being more connected to nature and thus more wild, etc. And so we're sort of playing around with that and continuing to thinking about this sort of unraveling of dichotomous thinking with like is female to male as nature is to culture as control is to care. And Katrina mentioned care quite explicitly before our presentation, and it sort of hits the spot of what we're looking at. So these feminist theories and sort of intersectionalism has tried to put in the forefront different types of knowledges and practices that have been marginalized because they're seen as like typically female, for instance, like the reproductive labor system, care work, women's knowledge, female networks, and sharing economies, and etc. And from good old times, writers that focused on nature and human relationships, like Meyer, Thoreau, and Leopold, sort of romanticized untouched nature, but in many ways ignored the care the women and different types of stewards of that land shape that nature and the life there. So these types of feminist perspectives make visible and let us understand these practices and networks and show us that care work is deeply political. And sort of establishing this perspective on the ethics of care and coping with climate change and a sort of planet in many ways being destroyed and broken down is thus very, very important. So feminist work has also been sort of the foundation for a lot of work with indigenous and local cultures and sort of making those practices visible. That doesn't mean that this type of care work is only something that women do, of course, but it's the intersectional approach that is the feminist perspective. Of course, men are part of this care work all the time, but it's all often been marginalized knowledge. So in the sort of feminist ecology and ethics of care, and to highlight and to make visible and to make use of and to perhaps strengthen caring practices that are aimed at maintaining, continuing, and repairing our world so that we can live as well as possible in it becomes very important. And there's a shift now in the sciences, as some of you might know, from these mostly positivist modes of analyzing to more post-normal sciences and post-human sciences. So we can look to, for instance, ethnographies from Australia. There's some work from Siri that works with us and others and where you look at especially the stewardship in a more structured manner than we've managed to do here in Norway. So we want to highlight stewardship of land here too. So care is an alternative to control that often privileges justice and encourages more egalitarian relationality as guiding principles. So care can also be about not demanding something back when doing something. It's a deeper understanding of the reciprocity between nature and humans. And also a shared vulnerability between us. It's an effort for reconnection, basically, and to understand the way we are entangled better. With that, it's often that these theories can sort of be hyper-focused on sort of maybe the softer side of things, the more feminized perspectives of things, but we don't look at care work as that. It's not sweet and soft. It's sort of more, sweat, blood, and tears, and also like fiercely protective care work. They're still in this world of culture-based solutions like hacking, sawing, burning, illness and death and those things. And a lot of the foundation for extractive and sort of destructive land use changes is sort of based in a denial of the shared vulnerabilities that we have with nature. And so we call for, with this type of work, for what I discuss in certain articles that I'm writing, what we call deeper adaptation, in where we take a holistic perspective on adaptation work that sort of influence the networks and the practices and the knowledges that let us have adaptive capacity also when we are marginalized and when our communities are in need. And this is about creating life worlds where we can live well together and producing the good life.
Mari,
Yeah.
I promised that I would warn people when they are, the time is soon finishing. So I just.
Okay. Yeah, we're almost there. So yeah. So Alexandra, you can jump to the next section if you want.
Yeah. So all of this above kind of leads us to think about culture-based solutions. And this is a concept where we think we can kind of build on practices, landscapes, tools, and also local knowledge from cultural heritage and traditional land care traditions for climate adaptation. So instead of looking at the technocratic nature-based solutions, look to culture. And this is a quite underdeveloped term, so we want to see what is the potential of this term. And our hypothesis is that traditional but also contemporary land care practices, that they hold a potential for addressing climate risks holistically, as Mari just explained. And in this project, we would like to look to existing practices of stewardship, or in Norwegian, skjøtsel. And this could be, for example, summer farming, as was discussed before. That's one of our cases. And as kind of a final thing, we want to also stress that culture-based does not mean human only. So as Mari said, the theoretical foundations are relational. They look to the more than human or other than human. So it's really about looking at human care practices with other species and within environments. Yeah. So this was a presentation of what we want to do. We have some questions for a discussion, but I don't know if we should, if we should move on now to questions, or shall we save these questions for the discussion later, or how do you want to do it?
We could save the questions after the next presentation, if that's okay for you.
Of course.
Thank you very much. Anyway, it was again very interesting. Yeah, so we comment that later. I won't take your time with my opinions. So we continue with presenting the next speaker, the next presentation, and that is Chris Blake from Wales, South Wales, I think.
Yes.
Linking people's values with forest planning, community land stewardship in the South Wales Valley. That's you, Chris Blake. We are very interested in to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Okay, hello everybody. I wasn't able to join. I need to share the screen and I can't. Why can't I see how to do this?
In the meanwhile, I can say something about you.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Yeah. You have spent the last decade supporting community responses to climate change. As a founding director of both award-winning social enterprises in the Green Valley of Community Energy Wales, he has been at the forefront of the movement of community-owned renewable generation. More recently, you have been leading the Skyline program, delivering landscape-scale community stewardship of public land of the South Wales Valley. Chris lives in a small holding on the Beacon, is that right pronounced?
Brecon Beacons, yeah.
Okay, and has a passionate belief in the power of community action to meet today's challenges. So that's right, spot on what we need to hear.
Okay, I did a test. I don't know whether I'm not seeing how I can share my screen.
Do we have your presentation just in case?
I think you should
share camera, Dropbox, Microsoft, SharePoint, Google Drive, Box.
Right now.
It's the share screen option is not
Share.
It's not showing.
Okay.
Is not working?
I can share lots of things, but not my screen, it seems.
Oh.
Okay. Do you want me to share it for you?
I think if you can.
Yes.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Just let me know when I need to pass the slide.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Okay, right, thanks everybody. I always speak too quickly, so I will try and slow down. That'll be my target. You'd heard some of that in the introduction while I was not sorting out the technology. So the Skyline project is based in the South Wales Valleys. If you just go on, Marta, to the next image, next slide. You won't see this very clearly, but the tiny little orange, red and orange arrow down at the bottom of Wales is where we're talking about. This is the mining area of industrial area of South Wales, and that's where this project has been based. Again, the next photograph, please. And this is the heritage of this place. So it was a very almost nobody living there in the middle of the 19th century, in the 1850s. Coal was discovered and mined from about 1850 up to about 1980, so for 130 years, and that completely transformed the valley. I wanted to draw attention to see the winding gear, the wheel at the top of the tower. Behind that is a flat-topped mountain. I'm pointing that out because that mountain today, I show you the mountain today on the next slide. I show you the mountain today. That is the mountain today. It's the landscape. The mining has stopped. A lot of the land has been replanted with forestry, commercial forestry and trees. It's also a very large wind farm there. The community still lives there. The community lives there. There is a town of about 6,000 people in the town. The landscape has recovered from 150 years of deprivation, of attack. But in many ways, the community hasn't. So this is a community, a post-industrial community, which is one of the poorest in Wales. It's in the bottom 8% of multiple disadvantage, an index of multiple disadvantage. It's in the worst 3% for employment, the worst 8% for overall disadvantage, the worst 3% in Wales for employment. So it's a place where employment, as the mines have closed, as other industries have closed, as globalization has affected factory production, this community has really collapsed. And so it has poor life expectancy, it has poor health outcomes, it has poor educational outcomes. It's a difficult but not untypical post-industrial community. If you go on to the next slide, this is a picture of the high street in Treherbert, people walking up there every day. And what I want to show you, if you just go on to the next slide, it's the same photograph with the landscape. And so the project was, this is the commercial forestry that is behind the land. It's owned by the Welsh government. By the government, it's public forestry, and it's managed by a public agency.
Sorry, Chris, excuse me. Just
down.
for the interpreters, could you
slow down.
Be slower?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
This is the commercial forestry that was planted where the old coal mines were. And the project was about reconnecting that community, that post-industrial community, to that landscape, to ask a question about, because they were separated from it. There was no connection to it. There was no economic connection, no social connection, even though it is on their doorstep, living forward. I'm going to show. Actually, I will miss. Can you go on two slides? The next one as well. Go on to the film.
Sorry, should I play it?
Okay, well, no. We'll move on, I think, because this will be quite. Let's go on to the next slide.
This one?
No, this is all in the film, actually.
Okay,
that's it. Fantastic. So, the approach we took to finding out the community, we wanted to ask 4 questions. Would the community want to have control over that landscape? Are there sustainable business models for that landscape? Would nature benefit from community stewardship? And what governance models should apply? And this was the aim of the Skyline project. And we did it with three principles: conviviality, art, and relationships. And you can, in the photograph at the top, in the middle, we did big collective meals. We brought people together. It wasn't, I would say, in the context of this presentation, women were very dominant in the discussion. It was for the whole community. We involved children, but the women, as you can see from these photographs, were the ones who had a passion, had a care, who were prepared to involve in the debate about what that landscape should be about and how it should be used, and were the loudest voices by far in the discussions that we had. If you go on to the next slide. And maybe not surprisingly, what came out of that process, which went on for several months, was three objectives which were each one equally powerful. The community wanted jobs and economic connection to the forest. They wanted what we called the everyday, which was access for recreation, access for dog walking, access for culture and art, and nature, the ecology. And those three, we couldn't separate. It wasn't all about the economy. It was all about a balance, which is quite a contrast with how that landscape is being managed at the moment by the public authority that is basically trying to provide timber to match global prices, which dictates monocrop silviculture with 40-year rotation cycles. So we did all this work with the community. We had a lot of political support. The First Minister of Wales visited, very supportive of the community being given powers over that landscape. But in some ways, at this stage, we failed because the public agency was not prepared to listen to what the community wanted to do. The public agency had not been in the room with us. We've been working on our own, and they just ignored what the community could do and would do with that landscape. So there was a real blocking point. So we go on to the next slide. So we started a process of co-production. We then entered with some, what we'd say in England, some twisting of arms. We used our political pressure to make the Forest Management Agency cooperate, and we ended up working on a co-production process. The co-production process was a sharing of power. So you enter the two parties, the public management agency and the community, come together and work out a future for that forest we said, for the next 100 years. And I've got a very short video, which I hope is going to work, and we hope they don't speak too fast, which is it's just 4 minutes long, and it gives you a flavor of the co-production process that we engaged in. So if you press the next slide, Marta, and press play, it's just a few minutes long.
Martha, can you put it in the big, in the full screen position?
You're not getting any.
I was listening to Viara. What did you say?
Can you go full screen?
I didn't.
Yes, we can see the next slide and the notes. So
yeah.
Okay.
There's no sound either, is there?
No sound.
Oh, there's the sound.
How was this? Because it was. Wait a minute. I think I don't need to stop sharing and then share with audio or something like this, no? Compartilhar o som. Are you now seeing the
What we've
or the slides?
Now
Yeah.
it's full screen.
That's good. It's good. I think we've got sound as well.
What now?
Yeah. If we just play.
Thank you.
The landscape that surrounds us is determined by a set of values. And the question is, whose values get to shape that landscape? And what we've been doing in Treherbert is listening to and working with the values of the local people and to put those values into the way that land is managed for the future. In Scotland, you've got communities who actually own the land. And if you own the land, then of course you can manage that land in a way that suits you because you're the owner of it. Here, the community doesn't own the land. It's owned by the Welsh Government and it's managed by NRW. But what we wanted to do was find a way in which the community could influence, have their voice be heard in the way in which the land is managed now and for decades and centuries ahead.
The land that we manage as NRW is the people of Wales's land, and therefore it's the people of Wales who live in a place and who have a sense of belonging to that place. They're experts in their own community and their land. They use it all the time. And we have expertise, and bringing the two things together means that the solutions, the planning for the long-term future is on much stronger foundations, and it's rooted in that community.
I'm going to welcome you all. You don't know it yet, and at the moment you don't know what it means, but we are the design group. What we're designing is the future of the landscape around the town. Now, and possibly, we say, for up to 100 years into the future or beyond.
It's very obvious to me that the natural resources that surround us have to be part of our future, part of solutions of the problems that we're facing as communities. And I'm just really excited about the community have actually got an opportunity to influence what happens around us. I'm a community member, I live here and I want a nice place for me to live and for my children to grow up.
We got all types of people in the co-design group. You know, we got people who work in industry, people who work for a council, people who worked for their own businesses, people who work in the third sector, people from different walks of life, you know, and covering the whole range of the community.
So the sessions that we did, the meetings that we had were a mix of getting some expert input. So we got some speakers in to talk about forestry and permaculture and all sorts of topics that were pertinent to the decision making, and some, reflection sessions, lots of flip charts, lots of post-its and markers. What do we care about? What do we want to see? Lots of idea generation.
We talked a lot about things like bike trails, people being able to walk, disabled access along the Cymsaebron Basin.
So a tourist and information centre that could have leaflets, maps, QR codes, a part-time job for a ranger.
Every kind of food production you could think of came out of these different conversations. It was incredibly inspiring.
Woodland crafts and skills, we want to see those coming back. So learning how to turn the wood, maybe doing coppicing, thinning, hurdle making.
Could there be a development of volunteers to monitor the natural habitat?
A lot of ideas going down. It's a bit confusing yet because we don't know how the plan is going to look, but I think bringing all the ideas together and concising them all into sort of the main parts of what everybody wants to see.
So how we came to the vision and values was really a distillation of all the different sessions and conversations, all the input from all the different members of the community. And it culminated in an open community event where these could be shared with the wider community. So in terms of, this is what the discussions we've been having over the past few months have led to, and this is the vision, this is the values.
Thanks, Marta. And if you can just go on to the next slide, we're nearly just a few points I want to emphasize about this process. So this was, this is the co-production involved the land management. So the decisions that we reached at the end of that process are fully backed. They are working with us to deliver those. This is the community having control over that landscape without owning it, without a formal agreement. So by virtue of the co-production arrangement, that the values of the community and the community are not experts in forest management, but they are experts in their own values. And if you have the slide on the values, the next slide after that one, these were the values that came out of that co-production process, the things that were important. And it's that balance between the commercial, leisure, value, to nurture, inspire, benefit. They're really, and what we've managed to achieve is to get those community values embodied into the government agency's management plan for the next year. It's a commitment to manage according to those values, we're now implementing that. So we have got a sawmill enterprise set up. We have got agroforestry projects working. We've created cultural spaces. There's teaching and mental health support programs happening in the forest because of that work. And it's achieved. We would like to have had ownership of the land so that we could to do those things directly. Ownership was not possible for political and economic reasons. But what we have managed to do is for the local community to be able to express to deliver what they want to do through that process of dialogue, through that process of co-production. And then I'll end with a quote on the last slide, which you can read from Alistair McIntosh, who is a writer and activist on land rights from Scotland in the United Kingdom, and something I have come to passionately believe. And the last sentence, that means giving responsibility for their own place, planning, and enterprise back to the people who actually live in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was just thinking so much about what you were saying that I forgot to thank you. This is so very realistic for so many to think about this local development, and I connected it to a lot of different situations, and in my community, how could we, and my brain started to work, and I guess it did for many of us, that we started to think and connect what you were saying to our own local society. So I won't let my thoughts go first. I guess there are some questions and reflections about this. Are you ready for questions? We can have Chris first, and then we can have Alexandra later. Is that okay? Because Alexandra is also going to have some questions. Martha?
Yes. Hello, thank you for your presentation. I'd like to know what was your twisting arm strategy to get the public agency on board?
Political power, really. So once we had got the politicians keen on the idea of community involvement, then the politicians ultimately control the public body. And although the public body is very resistant to giving up control because they see themselves as having the mandate for managing the forest, it's our job, we've given it. We don't want to talk to the community. We're the experts, go away. Changing that perception was difficult, and it was political. It was a external political power to make them change.
Thank you.
Other questions to Chris? And Alexandra is also still here, just in case.
I would like to ask a question to Chris. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very nice to see all these images and videos. I would like to know how did you manage to engage people in a process where you weren't sure that that it was going to work, like that the public body was going to accept the activities. And since I was like busy with this presentation, I didn't get if you actually implement, so not you, but the community was able to implement some of the activities they designed, or you are waiting for the property.
Well, when we did the work on our own without the public agency, we faced real danger that we wouldn't be able to deliver, and that was difficult. I just had to be very honest that was the case. And in fact, at the end of that first process, we weren't able to deliver it. But it did create the political momentum which allowed us to do the co-production work, which did involve them. So we had to go back. So we asked some of the same questions. Some of the same questions we'd asked 4 years before, we were now asking again, but this time with the government and the public agency in the room with us, and that makes all the difference. There was no difficulty in getting people engaged. People were so passionate about the place they live in. You can see how close the town and the forest are. It's the place they live, and they're very passionate about the place in which they live. We did it through art and engagement. We were asking people about the past, about history. We were collecting memories. We were collecting dreams for the future. We weren't doing it in a mechanistic forest management way. We were extracting ideas, history, sense of place, belonging, dreams, and that was and we made it convivial. We used art, and people wanted to participate.
Thank you. Rita, you raised your hand.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Really interesting. Thank you for your documentation and your work and engagement. I have a question. You talked about the ownership of the land, and so you said the community, they didn't own the land. So what kind of? So I was wondering about whose land is that? That is the first question. Is public land?
Yeah.
And if so, what kind of contract, or what kind of I don't know, document of engagement you had from the public agency to guarantee that your work was going to happen?
Yeah. Okay, good question. So the land is public land. It's owned by the Welsh government. It's managed by an agency that the Welsh government controls. And originally, I wanted to achieve what has happened in Scotland, which was for the community to be given control of the land, to have the freehold, to control the land. That would be the best outcome, and that wasn't going to be possible politically. Then we tried to get a lease, a long-term owner for 100 years. A lease would give us right to manage that land for 100 years. And what's really important from the community, it isn't just about management. They need economic rights to that land. They need the right to remove timber and sell it. They need to create jobs and employment. And what we've shown, I think, and I've done in some research I've done separately, is that when communities get control of land, you get this balance of outcomes, and you get better outcomes for nature, you get better outcomes for the local community, you get better outcomes for climate issues as well. They all emerge out of the values of those people. In terms of the written agreement, we have two powers. There's a community management agreement, so the community is allowed to manage sections of the land according to that joint plan, and that's been negotiated and agreed, and is a rolling 5-year management agreement. It has to be negotiated every 5 years with the managing agency. But what's good is that because of the shared vision, shared forest vision based on the values, as long as it's compatible with that higher document, then there isn't any discussion or negotiation with that. That's the principle. There is also a benefit in that it's a bit technical, but under the forest conservation scheme, the certification for the timber, if you have engaged with the community on the management of the forest, you can't then ignore in your forest management, you can't ignore the outcome of that consultation. And so they would lose forest certification if they didn't abide by the outcome of the co-production process. So we have quite good controls. I would rather have ownership. I'd much rather have the community had ownership, but without ownership, we can achieve the same outcomes without it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. There are no more raised hands. Are there no more questions?
Anna Louisa raised her hand.
Okay, I didn't see
Thank
it.
you.
Okay.
It's very quick. It's just something that I think I didn't understand well. At a certain point of your presentation, I think I heard you say that there was no formal agreement between you, the community, and the public institutions. I heard it wrong. Now that I heard your answer to Rita, I was confused. Yeah.
No, you're right. When we started, the Skyline process started with engaging with the community to ask them about managing the land, and at that point we had no agreement with the public bodies. We were doing it as we were creating, we were crystallizing the feelings of the community towards the land, and if you like, we were demanding action and rights, which we didn't get. That's that first process. We had no prior agreement. When we started the co-production process, by entering into a co-production process, the agency and the community enter a process in which they accept a jointly negotiated outcome. And we were expecting a lot of conflict in that process, and in fact there was none. We found that the values of the agency and the values of the community were very similar. It's just that the management practice, the historic management practices of the forestry agency were not always in accordance with the values. And so that tradition that we're just there to produce timber, we just need lots of timber, that's in the everyday, the culture of the organization. But actually, if you look at the values and start a conversation, a dialogue, you find the community and the agency were very much in common. So in fact, there was very little conflict in the co-production process, which was a real surprise.
Okay,
thank you.
Martha?
Yes, I have a question for Alexandra. You are talking about cultural-based solutions. So I'm wondering if you have already find ways, or if you are thinking of ways of operationalizing or quantifying or measuring these solutions, because it seems that it's like the language that policymakers like to implement something.
Yeah, thank you for this question. In the project, we are mainly social scientists working qualitatively. So the idea of this is to kind of build this concept bottom up. So it's not about like making a new like managerial concept that with like indicators and quantifiable measurements, but rather to understand from the ground up what people that are involved in these practices, to what extent they see these practices as solutions to certain problems, but also looking at, for example, with the example of summer farming, I mean, in like most people know, okay, it produces milk, it produces a certain cultural landscape, but to look a bit deeper and to see what are the different kind of benefits, what is actually emerging through these practices. And I think you point out the important issue that it's kind of this policymakers want these concepts, and we're trying to kind of make a complement to these nature-based solutions and to kind of see the other things that are there. So we're not trying to come up with a new measurement instrument or an indicator.
Okay, thank you.
And also, since you, Chris, talked so much about co-production, that is also kind of at the heart of our project. We want to co-produce this knowledge together with practitioners to see, to look more into this knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I can't see any more raised hand. Are there any more raised hand?
Can I just make a comment to Alexandra's presentation and point? It was interesting, in the lands that we were working with, there was no historic patterns. It wasn't traditionally common. We've created a new common, but it wasn't traditionally common. There was no practice. It was a wasteland from mining, a century of mining, followed by commercial forestation, none of which had the forestation had it was corporate forestation on a large scale with no involvement from local people. And so there's no tradition of practice, which is interesting. I think it's an unusual case, but we didn't have any of that to fall back on.
Yeah. We didn't go into it now in the presentation, but we're not trying to kind of exclude new practices. And actually, one of the cases that we are looking at will be like this urban gardening initiative in Bergen, so in an urban context. That has also has a social component where it also integrates newcomers to the place, immigrants, to take part in kind of community work. So it's not just like the kind of traditional. We're not looking for this essentialist knowledge, but we are looking at some of these kind of more what can be kind of defined as cultural heritage, but without then excluding kind of new adaptations to this knowledge. And I think it was discussed before our presentation, for example, on the Norwegian summer farms, where people start to innovate and start to bring tourists to the farm, or produce different types of cheeses that have never been produced in Norway and stuff like that. So we won't exclude that. But I think that is kind of something we're now conceptually struggling a little bit with. Like, we have this focus on the cultural heritage and the traditional ecological knowledge. But how can that be inclusive also of new forms of knowledge and contemporary practices, imported practices?
Interesting.
There's a kind of we're struggling with that a bit at the moment, but we are aware of the problematic of kind of essentializing cultural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess that also depends on what kind of area you're working in. If it's lots of history and cultural heritage in the area, or you start from scratch, like your area in South Wales. So maybe it's not just one answer of that or method. Okay, but I can't see any more raised hands. If there are, say it out loud. I can't see any. Okay.
Katarina, but we have half an hour. Maybe we do go for the breakout rooms a bit.
Yeah. So now then it's time for next action, and that is go in breakout rooms. And there we go, 2 and 2. And we shall discuss. Okay, you explain. Oriana.
I'm sorry, Katarina. We did breakout rooms with 3 or 4 people, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. You explain how you want it.
Okay, and we are trying to put people together who speak the same language. In some cases, I am not sure, so let's see if it works. And we have here in the chat, we have a document, which is our intention is that the document guides our discussion a bit, and we end up with some insights. So in your group, you can open this document and follow a bit these ideas in your discussion. And then we fill it in and we come back for a plenary. I'm not sure how much time we have for this, Marta. Maybe you...
Yeah, the idea was to have 15 minutes discussion.
Okay.
So the question around the discussion is how can we use the learnings tools of today in our territories of communities? That's invitation to speak about this. But of course, if you want to discuss some other issues, that's okay.
Yeah.
and the three to write here you have several tables, so please choose one table and write who you are and then the 3 key insights, and maybe some question arise for the speakers again to go back here and you can answer it if they can answer it.
Okay, so shall I bring the people together in the groups?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Hello.
We are now Sala 1.
Katrina, I don't speak very well English. I don't know why do you put me
It
in
looks
this group.
fine for me, but yeah.
I
if
did
you
not
say
put you in here.
But it's okay.
I don't know. You for ask Oriana. I didn't
Okay,
choose.
no problem. I think the major problem that I confused the hour where the seminar start, and I'm late, so I didn't heard the presentations.
Okay. But you didn't hear any of the presentations?
Anyone. I thought that seminar starts at 11.
Okay. But did you join from 11?
Yes, 10 past 11.
Okay. So you have...
So I only assist at discussion from the Chris presentation.
Okay, so you have Chris.
Okay, only but no, I didn't heard Chris, but only the discussion after the presentation. I'm sorry.
And we can how can we use the learnings tools of today in our territory communities. We can, if you just heard Chris, we can use that as an example. And also if Yara has some ideas from the other presentations, we could add it to our answer.
I think that first of all, we have to say that it depends on what we would like to use, you know, because there were quite diverse presentations showing different situation in different places. And when we speak about tools, it's quite kind of you cannot I had the feeling that they didn't show too many tools, you know. They show what was doing in what has been done in the territory by an organization which was working in the territory. So what I can say is that maybe the participatory approach, we can use this in the community. We can also use having someone from outside to moderate or to facilitate the developing of the vision, the last presentation. And I cannot say too much about for example, the ecofeminism or something like this. So it's yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, but still, there was some tools in many of the, especially after the break. Chris had a lot of tools, examples to how to manage local development. And also Alexandra, there was tools there, both in Chris and Alexandra's presentation. Alexandra was talking about using the culture, local culture and cultural heritage, and that's also something that easily is forgotten in the environment development and conservation. So and it was also interesting to see how they were different, Chris and Alexandra. So Chris, they are starting from scratch from an area which is not has a very low cultural value, and Alexandra, who has carrying a lot of thousands of years of history in the landscape. So it's very different. But still, the idea of local development, that is also a tool to involve the public and the citizens. And also the tool is also to, at the early stage, involve the politicians in the idea of involving the public. So the tool is to start to anchor it by the politicians, the idea, and get a go from them to connect the citizens. I think that is a very strategic. My English is not so good either.
Are you speaking for the last presentation?
What?
Are you speaking for the last presentation?
You know, it's because he was the most direct with tools. He had the examples of how to do it directly. The others, Alexandra also had tools, but that was more secondary, not secondary, but more not directly, more idea on the idea basis. They have not been tested like he has with his project. But both were into involving the citizen and also involving the history, but
traditional.
What? Excuse me.
I'm thinking about to pick the traditions cultures like cooks and something like that to activate the citizens, the people. I didn't listen the presentations, but in Portugal, to put people active, to moving forward the things, we need to activate with a table and a meal and something like that. So I think one of tools that we use in Portugal to activate people and rural people is like the traditional cooking recipes. I don't know if it is like a tool for you.
It can be, but in this case, it's connected to how we use our the areas around us, and the nature. It's connected to nature conservation. So, but for example, in Norway, that could be a good thing with food from our area, with local food and local food produced at the summer farm, and the cheese and the milk and maybe the vegetables from your area, and how we can be a part of the nature and nature and us, and produce food on a sustainable way, and use the nature in a sustainable way by harvesting without destroying, and thinking about future conservation in everything we do, and the taste of our area. So it could be a tool, not just making a whatever meal, but the meal connected to the nature.
Yes.
So that's a good idea, of course. Or make things. Food, or make tools. We can also make tools from the woods, and do your ideas to do activities connected, not just sit down and talk, but do something together. Yeah.
I think we can rescue the traditional seeds and preserve them, and then we have local products, and we have a lot of recipes to local, and we can do a fair or things like that with these local products and local recipes that are adequate to the land. So.
Yeah, sure. The challenge
but I think it's a thing that is in a lot of rural areas we did it. So I think
but the challenge is to integrated by the politicians. That is not just a sweet thing the women do, but this has to be something that makes a difference. That's the challenge. So but anyway, Chris used the tool by integrating it, by presenting it to the politics as a beginning, at the early stage. Or it was like the first time it wasn't that success, but in the moment he included the politicians and anchored it there. It was he got power. It got power. I don't know. Should we write something? They said something about writing. I don't know.
So. Yeah, you have to go to, we have to go to the document one, to the Google document.
Where is the document?
The document is was in the chat.
In the chat, okay.
Yes.
Chat, okay, so we have to go to the document. And who wants to write in there? Doc for discussion. Do you want to write in there, Yara? If we shall write something?
Yeah, so let's discuss. I can put it. So we are in hall 1. So we are just to.
Yeah, we're discussing especially the 2 last presentations.
Vera, Cristina, and Katarina.
That it was here it is in Portuguese, yeah.
Which group are the hours group? The number?
We are group 1.
1? Okay.
Yeah, I'm writing. Cristina is.
And Katarina, yeah. And it's how can we use the learning tools?
Okay.
There's 3 key insights discussions. Maybe we have already said it's different from culture and geography. It has to connect to the local culture and traditions. Because we have to join the people.
What do we have to connect to the
culture, local culture. There is no just one answer.
No, the local culture.
Yeah.
Culture
and traditions.
Traditions. Traditions.
To involve the local society, we have to know.
Have to be connected to what?
Yeah. If you agree. I think that was something I'm thinking about now. After.
Isn't it the local culture and tradition have to be connected to the environmental protection or something like this?
Yeah, because if we shall, it's about involving the citizens, the people who live there. And to involve the people who live there, we have to connect to the local culture and their minds, because the heart of the people have to follow the project. If their hearts and their minds, if they don't want to, nothing will happen. It has to be something that people want and like to join. So we have to find the key to the heart, to the culture of the people. And it's different from place to place. In Christina's place, it can go through food, what can we produce and get from the nature, and also is sustainable and take care of this area. And in Chris' example, it's not food, we like to walk and use the forest. That's our free space. Or also the possibility to take out some timber. So it's more like outdoor activity culture they want to and seek. So it's different from place to place, and the key is to find the heart of the culture and the minds of the people. And Alexandra was talking about history, and history also a way into people's heart, the local culture. Okay, now we have to leave.
Leave?
Yeah, it says.
Yes, okay.
You have 50 seconds.
Okay. Anything more, you think?
Yeah, we will put the thing of the politicians. I will put it. Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Walking.
It has to commit the politicians as well. Yeah, that's important. Strategic.
I think also to join people that give legitimacy to the aspiration of local people as lawyers, as something that help to
hello, welcome back again. Everyone was muted. So maybe Oriana, you will take this session.
Or maybe it's better if it's Marta, I think. Marta
Okay.
Romero. Then I take the closing circle.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. Well, welcome back. I hope you had a nice discussion as we did. Yeah, we would like to hear you. So maybe starting with group one is Viara, Cristina, or Katerina. Can someone share what your main insights?
Yeah. Can you, Yara, can you somehow share what we, do you have to see the document or can we just talk?
You can just talk, I guess.
Yara, do you want to talk for us?
Okay, I can talk, but I'm still waiting. Are we going to share the document or not?
I don't think we have to share the document.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
think it's easier if you
let's go. We spoke a little bit. We were the three of us. It's Cristina from Portugal, Caterina, and myself. And we were discussing the main tools that we can take from all of the presentations. So one thing which we discuss and which we think is very important is that when you try to involve the local people, you have to understand and connect to the local culture and the traditions. Like, for example, in last example, it was walking to the forest. In the previous one, it was the traditional local food. And in each example, there were some things which were related to the society and to the local conditions, which if you think, if you want to involve the people, you have to understand and connect to them. The second thing which we were discussing is the approach of Chris to involve the politicians, or I may say the authorities or the decision makers from the beginning. Even though he said that it was not successful at the first time, actually they were informed that there was such a project and that there was such participatory approach going on for the development of what the vision of these people is for their regions. So we think it's a good message, at least to try to involve them. I know that this is not always possible because it's usually they don't participate too much in such events, but if you can include them, then it for sure it has some added value at the end. And yeah, that's the two things we discussed. We didn't have that much time. We were sent back to the plenary, so probably
that's a great.
There might be other things.
Viara, so thank you very much. They are two great insights already. Don't need more for now. Thank you very much. Okay, the group 2, it's empty, right? Yeah. So group 4, Beatriz, Ariane, and Alexandra, could some of you want to share your key insights? Do we have these people? Yes. Ariane, I can see Ariane, for example.
But I don't have the document. It was, I don't remember the name of the girl who has written down the discussion.
I can give a short summary.
Okay.
So we thought that this seminar was great because one of the most important tools to kind of shift our relationship or to how, like, also to manage land differently is that we need perspectives. Like, we need theories, we need philosophical visions to guide policies and practices. So, for example, like the feminist perspective, like it is important how we think about human-nature relations, and it's also important how we talk about stuff. So these visions need to also like influence the language that then goes into management plans and policies and all of this. So like an obvious example would be like this kind of from control to care, for example. And whilst the feminist perspective is important, we need to be able to think two things at the same time, like to keep a feminist perspective, but not reproducing these dichotomies of male and female and nature and culture. We also said that we need strong female networks in order to keep the perspective and to enable a shift. And I think this seminar is a great way of doing this, and to also go kind of across borders. And then another thing was that like regarding the tools. So the community meetings and co-productions are obvious tools that we need to work with in projects that address these issues. And also, since there were 2 lawyers in our little group of 3 people, we think that the law perspective is also very important. And I can just speak from Norway, like when we have like projects on climate change and green shift, there's always a need for the legal perspective, and there's often not enough representation of lawyers when dealing with this. Yeah, I don't know, Ariane and Beatrice, do you have things to add?
Yes.
You set it off.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ariane. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting insights too. And now we have the third group, where I was also, but maybe another person, maybe Lucas, who was taking notes, can share what we discussed.
Yeah, sure. So we discussed many things. For the most part, discussions were about how do you use these insights, but also adapt to the current world and the current possibilities that there is for creating these communities. So one example was like the issue of traditional culture and how it can maybe not be compatible or sustainable with issues and perspectives nowadays, in a sense that, for instance, there was a grazing example of uplands in Wales in which only a very small group of a few dozen farmers benefited from these grazing uplands, but maybe wasn't compatible with nature and climate goals that are present and that are important nowadays. For example, like this traditional land management practice could not be compatible with other stakeholders and maybe not inclusive for a whole community that might live around there. And then we also talked about how does this work in an urban setting or in a new suburb, let's say, but which also connects to some discussions that were happening before about how do we talk about this in urban settings. And Marta gave this example of a study that was carried out or that she was doing in a suburb in which a community did not have a historical connection to the common land, but because they cared about the common land, they were very active in participating at the same time. So it didn't necessarily mean that you had to have such a historical tradition to be able to be connected to this land. So even that, though you might not have a heritage or shared values, you might still have a sense of place. Most people might have a sense of place or a passion or a commitment to where you want to live. And then we were also talking about the insights in Wales to community properties in Portugal, how these insights could actually be needed, these community activities, these spaces for community and for community to sharing their issues and activities that they would like to carry out and the ways that they would like to manage their commons. It's interesting for the case of Portugal to learn from other perspectives and other things that have been carried out, such as this in Wales. Since the current property management of forestry in Portugal might not be inclusive, for instance, when there's commons assemblies, there's not much participation by commoners, by people in the village, because people might not feel in the space, so that they don't actually have a stake in the management. So it's important to see how the whole community could be interested or involved in it. I hope that I covered it well.
Yes, I think you were very, very explanatory of what we discussed. Thank you, Lucas. Okay, so we are on our time to leave. I would like to really thank the presenters. Your presentations were really insightful, and I think us as a network, Wonder Common Lands, that we are trying to get more funding to really have an impact on our territories in terms of community participation and the participation of women. These theoretical and also practical insights are very, very useful for us. And yeah, we will close with just Oriana, just tell you.
Yes. We were thinking we could close with a closing circle with one word, something that we take from this meeting or how this experience was for us. We can try a spontaneous pop-up. People will say one word and say goodbye. So we try this, and we thank you all for being here, and hope next time we can be face-to-face. Yeah? Okay, so we try the spontaneous.
I say
right.
hope.
Okay.
I say share.
Good.
Care.
Variability.
Including.
Customary practices.
Ecofeminism.
Culture.
Grateful.
Some people are speaking muted.
Oh yeah, okay. Maybe when you speak, you turn off on your mic.
To get together was my word.
Together, okay. And one from Noelia, she wrote culture-based solutions. Thank you. In the chat.
Community.
I say happiness. There's someone missing.
Shading. Shading.
Okay. One in the chat, cooperation, and thank you for sharing. I'm Beatriz. Did we all say a word and close the circle? Gabriela?
Sorry, I said variability. I don't know whether you heard me or not.
Okay, now we heard you. Thank
okay.
you. Okay. Okay, so Marta, Katarina, you want to close? Legitimacy. Okay, Christina said legitimacy.
Yeah. I can close, and I want to say thank you very much for today and your participant, and both to the speakers and all your engagement, the right word? I don't know, but you all added something to this webinar. But it's not finished. There is one webinar next week as well, and maybe Marta was to say the last words connected to what's going on. and the sessions next week?
It will be a roundtable with women that are currently presidents of common lands in Portugal. So I believe it will be very interesting, and I hope to see you there.
But it will be in Portuguese, right?
In Portuguese, the whole thing with translation.
So we translate to English.
To English, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Hope to see you next week.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.